let's talk about Tales from the Hood 3. As you can see, my look today is inspired by one of the characters from Tales from the Hood. I was already halfway there since we have the same hair, including the same heat damage. Don't flat iron your hair, kids. Tony Todd is in this and he elevates just about anything that he's in. He could be in the worst movies, but his scenes are going to be the best regardless. He's in the wraparound story, which starts with him and this little girl running away from this entity. Then the little girl starts to tell him 3 tales. The first story starts with a building owner who's trying to sell his building to a building developer. But the building developer wants him to evict a family that has a child who's sick with cancer. He does something awful to try to get the family out of the apartment, and I don't need to tell you that this is a setup for him to get his comeuppance. This segment feels like it was made in the 90s. Out of the 3 segments, this is the one that feels the most as if it really would have been part of a Tales from the Crypt series. Even though Tales from the Hood took its name from Tales from the Crypt, it had its own feel, it was its own thing. This particular segment felt more like a Tales from the Crypt episode than a follow-up to the Tales from the Hood film. And I gotta stop moving my hands because this jacket makes too much noise. The way it's shot just feels very 90s. There's parts of it that reminds me of Freddy's Nightmares even. And I'm not mad at that. Unfortunately, I was looking for Freddy's Nightmares the other day and I couldn't find it streaming anywhere, and that's kind of sad. Story 2 is the funniest. I mean, maybe I have a sick sense of humor, but I laughed until I cried during this segment. But it's about this guy who's in this bunker and he's talking crazy on the radio, using words out of context. Then there's this whole sequence with these blow-up dolls that I was dying laughing at because it was an allegory for something else that you see that happens online. Like, you see people that come online and they say all these crazy super racist things, and then certain adult sites, which I can't mention because I don't know what the YouTube rules are anymore, will do a survey, and the survey shows that the people that seem to make the most racist posts online are the same people to look up ebony adult films. So that segment was hilarious. The reveal was really cool, especially if you know American history. There's a specific type of history I wanted to mention, but if I mention it, that would be a spoiler for the reveal. But if you know about American history, especially as it goes with race relations, the reveal is even more amazing. I gotta say, I quite like segment 3 also, and tell me why the song that the girl group was singing is better than half the songs on the radio right now. Even as far as the look of the girl group, they looked like what I want to see an American girl group look like. While they're recording, one of the backup singers decides she's going to have all her glory moments, and she ends up getting fired because she wasn't hired to sing lead, she was hired to sing backup, and the lead singer is upset about this. She gets an opportunity to work for a rich older woman, and she takes it because obviously she needs the money now. Her biggest problem is that she does not respect her elders one bit, which is why I felt some type of way of sort of kind of dressing like her today, even though really I should say she's dressed like me, because this is how I've been looking for the last 20 years. So she's dressing like me, I'm not dressing like her. Anyways, she doesn't respect her elders. I respect my elders, but she doesn't, and that's why nothing good is going to happen to her. I really like this segment as well. It does remind you of a recent movie. I wouldn't say too recent. Maybe this movie came out in somewhere around 2010, 2012. It has a similar storyline, and if I tell you what movie that was, it would spoil the segment. But if you watched Tales from the Hood 3 and you know what movie I'm talking about, where that this might remind you of, put it in the comments, because I'm interested to see if anyone else picked up on that besides me. This also continued with a 90s feel, and it really showed me how Tales from the Hood could have been a really great TV series. Maybe they're doing this to kind of test it out, and they might end up getting a deal with Amazon or Netflix for a Tales from the Hood anthology series. I would watch that. There's a 4th story in this. I think I said initially that the little girl told 3 stories, but I think she tells 4 stories. Anyways, in the 4th story, there's a guy, I'm going to call him One Punch Man, because that's how he goes around robbing people. He just hits them with a one-hitter quitter and then robs them. And at first, again, this might be a testament to my faulty sense of humor, but I thought it was hilarious every time I saw him punch somebody. And it shouldn't be funny, but it was to me. And it reminded me of, if you remember the Chris Rock show, there was a segment where they were doing like a newscast and it was a person running around smacking people. And at the end of the newscast, they also said that there's another person on the loose kicking people in the ass. I hope I can find gifs of that. That was hilarious to me. I don't know why. Seeing someone get punched in the face, it shouldn't be funny, but it is to me. There's something wrong with me. Well, I've been told on this channel that I'm disturbed anyway, so. Anyways, in this segment, the robberies are meant to look much more harsh than how I took them. But again, the way he jumped and punched these people made me laugh. He, of course, has no remorse, and he's going to suffer as a result of that. The wraparound story was very cool. It was a great way to draw this story to a close. There were hints the whole time of what it was going to be, but that didn't make the payoff any less fun, at least for me. And if you look at some of the cover artwork for the poster, the masks that are on the children kind of reminded me of that movie, The Orphanage, which I highly recommend. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And that's where my notes end, so I guess I have nothing else to say about Tales from the Hood 3. I will say that I liked it better than Part 2, so I would say, in order of liking these movies, Tales from the Hood obviously is a classic. That's always going to be a classic in my book. Tales from the Hood 3, very, very good. I definitely recommend it. Tales from the Hood 2, not great, but not horrible. Just kind of mediocre would be the term I would use. I got a gang of other videos to do because I'm so behind. I said I was going to do 31 days of horror. I'm having a hard time doing it. No matter how I do it, I'm going to post 31 videos this month. And there might be like some days where there's like 4 videos posted in a row and I'm playing catch up, but I'm determined to do it this time. This is like a preview for my next video, but I forgot to do my sign off for my last video. Like I always say, don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourself. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it. Just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Did you see Tales from the Hood 3? Have you seen the previous 2 Tales from the Hood? What do you think of the trilogy? Bye.